pharmaceutical cocktail I put together vibrates at the back of my skull, shifts my system into overdrive. I could take anything but a tank shot to the chest right now, but that comes with a cost. My body's going to give it out at some point, and it's going to hurt. One-way trip. I picture the pills in the bag with the pills and taking the pills in the bag with... It feels inevitable. A Nickelodeon on a loop. Courtesy of an addict's chemistry. I'm the addict, by the way. Hi. Max is Dracula, Lord of the Vampires. 15 miles from here, in a tiny motel in El Paso, Texas, she's conducting a ritual that will end the world as we know it. It's what she always wanted, even when she said she didn't. If I don't save the people she's taken or kill the things she's conjuring from the void as we speak, the world dies today. I threw away 6 months and 11 days of being sober for a chance to save the world. 98% of me is screaming in pain or exultation, glad for an excuse to fall. And the last tiny fraction, that's you. I need you to believe that I'm not going to open that trunk, that I'm going to get back into this car on the count of 3 and stop my ex before she destroys us all. I need to know that you believe, so I can too. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Well. I don't think I'm safe inside here anymore. I don't think I'm safe anywhere.
It's not every day that you fall in love with a vampire, but if you're into that shit, that was exactly the case for James Savage. James is a pill-addicted vampire hunter set on hunting down his ex-girlfriend Dracula from trying to end the world. El Paso Elsewhere is a game that on the surface may look repetitive, boring, and slightly, generic, but it's not until you continue into its chapter system where you really realize that this game has so much depth. So sit back, chuck this on your second monitor, fall asleep to it, and enjoy this video essay on one of the most awesome games I've played all year. And obviously, before I get further into this video, this is obviously a spoiler warning. I'm going to be talking about the game in its entirety, including like its lore, its chapters, its story, and everything else in between. And if you want to join my Discord, check that out below. I'll link it in the description.
What?
Nothing. I just wasn't ready to say goodnight yet.
Now, who is James Savage? James Savage is the only playable character in all of El Paso Elsewhere, and we're going to follow his story along for the next 50 chapters. Overflowing with addiction, trauma, and a pretty crazy lust for violence, it's safe to say that his background is pretty complicated. Other than what we just learned from these few cutscenes, that's pretty much all we know about him for now as well. But as we continue through the story, we'll unravel more and more about his relationship with his ex-girlfriend, and more just about himself.
El Paso Elsewhere uses a chapter system as you go through the story, which each level getting harder and more complex the further and further you get into the void. And with 50 chapters in total, there's a lot to learn about our complicated protagonists. There's also a wide range of options you can change when it comes to difficulty, but I recommend just leaving it on intended as you don't really need to change anything else here. After the tutorial, the game spits you out into a hotel lobby. This is your first little stage for the game. The lobby is quiet, you ring the bell to see if anyone's home. And you can explore a few of the rooms, but there isn't really too much going on here. However, you might stumble into a room with a radio.
Previously on Bill Cop.
The club was lit up like a Christmas tree. Cheap neon paint on the cracked facade of a broken neighborhood. My badge wouldn't get past the dress code, but it didn't need to. Where God closed the door, the devil was waiting next to a window, with a rictus smile and a brownstone brick. I gave a nod of recognition on my way in.
And I think it's safe to say that this show kind of alludes to our protagonist here, and he even makes a final comment sharing how he thought the show ended in the 90s.
This voice memo is also narrated by the same voice actor, and we'll actually discover a bunch of these as we continue into the void.
As you continue to explore, you eventually find a room with life.
Hey, you here against your will?
Did Mistress bring you here to shame me?
Oh, I'm very clearly in the wrong place.
Okay, maybe the wrong room. Despite this game having quite a dark and gloomy tone, I really enjoy its sense of humor, and during my first playthrough, I didn't actually even enter this room, so I had a really good laugh when I discovered it on my second time. Anyway, eventually you make it to the elevator, which signals the level is over.
Oh shit. This is bad.
Now where are we? Well, welcome to the Void, an oddly beautiful place for your ex-girlfriend to end the world. These first few levels introduce us to a few game mechanics. Firstly, hostages. Dracula has captured hostages and placed them all around the Void, where it's our goal to save each and every one of them. In addition, you will also meet your first enemy type, vampire mummies. These guys are your pretty basic goons, and they move relatively slow and have basic melee attacks if you get too close. Most of them can be dealt with from pretty far away, or simply one-shot if you're in slow-mo. Now speaking of one-shotting mummies, if you know what I mean. You will also finally equip with your first weapon, the dual-wielding pistols, dubbed the DM11s. Now to make this video a little more interesting, I'm going to put all these weapons you find in El Paso elsewhere into a tier list. So hopefully the YouTube algorithm gods will be happy with me and I'll get 50 million views on this video. Cheers, thanks. The DM11s have 12 shots and reload relatively quickly. Throughout the game you unlock quite a few more weapons, but I honestly really enjoyed just using these for most of the playthrough. There's just something so satisfying about using them, and they have great ammo reserves. I'm going to place these in A tier for now, but other than that, these first few levels are pretty simple and there's not too much to see.
I have seen the impossible before. My specialty was folklore. I was a researcher. That's how me and Dracula met. I've tackled golems and will-o'-the-wisps. A leprechaun took a chunk out of my leg once. This isn't that. Those vampires had wrappings. Like a mummy. There's a reason pharaohs would have their servants killed to join them in death. It was a circle. With the right incantations, the pharaoh or noble was supposed to become undead royalty, and their servants the personification of hunger. Drinking but never satisfied, they'd gather and vomit gallons of blood a day so that their masters could bathe in the spoils. Two types of vampires originating in the cradle of civilization. The feeding and the fed. That pattern was supposed to have died out 1,000 years ago. Vampires changed, became more sophisticated. Like her. I don't know how to describe a smell 1,000 years old being fresh. But Dracula, what she's doing, it's torn a hole through the inner tube of reality. I'm here just in time to watch the air drain out.
James Savage is no stranger to the impossible. Being a folklore researcher, he's always been in close proximity to the strange unknown, and he even talks about stories of times he had encounters with leprechauns and other sorts of monsters. And although his line of work is a little bit dodgy, we can sort of understand that there's still humanity left inside of him. He still wants to save the world, even if it is just to see his ex-girlfriend one last time. Right now he's pretty focused on saving the world, but who knows how that changes as we get deeper and deeper into the void.
Chapters 5 through 7 now introduces us to a few more goodies, including the cavalry, a pump action shotgun which conveniently placed for us in the void here. It holds 6 rounds, it can pretty much one-shot anything that comes within close proximity, but for now, I'm just going to put it in a solid A tier as well.
I think I saw a werewolf in that fucking bathroom.
This is the werewolf, a fast-moving creature who can make massive leaps and close the distance to you. They have a similar health pool to the vampire mummies, but are way more annoying to hit. Sometimes they'll also be conveniently placed right around corners, making them perfect for that massive bloody jump scare. Overall, they aren't too bad, but they are definitely something to keep an eye on. Additionally, if we explore deep enough, we can also stumble across the newest episode of Pill Cop.
My life is a series of elevators. Problem is, they're always going down.
What floor would you like to go to, sir?
Penthouse. Speaking of, you have a way to leave this elevator when we get up there?
Well, no, sir. I have to stay at my post.
Alright then. Here's a tip.
Wowzers! $50 whole dollars?
Don't get too excited, kid. After what happens next, there's a good chance you won't be able to spend it. Means you're gonna die, kid.
Oh no!
You sealed the deal. And once you seal it once, you can't rip up the packaging. Not without violating the return policy. It's one of those stupid little things you gotta use the scissors and it doesn't quite seal back up again and you can use tape. It is.
Your turn. Truth or dare?
Truth.
Why did you stay after I told you?
You feel inevitable. Of course we would meet, of course we would fall in love, of course you would be a vampire and tell me. And of course, I would stay. Who am I to tell the universe that it's wrong? Wait, did I say something wrong?
No, it's just... It's an interesting turn of phrase. I'm going to think over that.
I feel like I messed up.
You didn't. Ask me.
Okay. Truth or dare?
Dare.
Come on.
I can pick it if I want.
Alright, I dare you to tell me the truth about...
No,
It's a loophole.
no.
It's a legitimate
Come
loophole.
on,
It's
you
not my
know
fault
that
the
that's
game didn't
cheating.
account for
You know.
this.
Okay, fine. Go ahead with your little truth dare.
Why did you come back? To Transylvania and the castle. This isn't where you grew up. You had lost everything. What does this place have for you?
Well, it's mine. Maybe the only thing I have left.
Sorry. If I'm going to get to the bottom, which is presumably where this is all coming from, I need to remember some things. Once upon a time, Dracula's name was Janet Drake.
Now we start to learn more about the nature of Dracula and James's relationship and essentially how human it is. Despite Dracula obviously being like an 1,000-year-old vampire, we learn more about how she was quite a normal human. In this cutscene, she seems vulnerable and almost like she has a true attachment to James. On the other side of the fence, James describes his relationship with Dracula as inevitable, and from his more self-destructive point of view in life, I think it kind of makes sense to him that he would always fall in love with a quote-unquote monster.
Now moving on to chapters 8 and 9, this is where things start to get a lot more eventful. Firstly, the Void now seems to be reacting to these memories, acting more unpredictable and almost even more violent at times. Scattered chairs, dead bodies, and tighter corridors definitely change up the vibe. Additionally, there's also this cute little Easter egg on top of this area. I have no idea whose dog this is, but it does make a couple appearances in the game, and thank you for the ammo, I guess, bro. Awesome. Right down the hallway from this painting is also our newest weapon type, the Strikebreaker, a 1920s Tommy gun that's easily one of the best weapons in the game. With a whopping 25 bullets in the mag and a hefty ammo count, this weapon is super reliable for the entire playthrough. When James picks it up, he almost seems familiar with the model. This is easily an S tier weapon for me, so this one is going right to the top. Moving into chapter 9, the Void starts to fight back.
Oh shit.
One of these doors also spawns a giant vampire mummy, and as far as I'm aware of, this is the only one of these giant models that you see in the entire game. I don't really understand the reasoning as to why it exists, but it's kind of cool, I guess. After opening the next Void covered door, we also have our first encounter with a sort of jumping puzzle. The Void seems to be creating a path for us, leading us further and further into the unknown, but it's not until we get to the other side where we realize it's taking us to see an old friend, the puppeteer. James seems to have a pre-existing relationship with these guys, and although the origin seems sort of unknown, the puppeteer has got to be one of the most annoying enemies in all of El Paso elsewhere. He acts as a sort of summoner creature that takes these little wooden puppets and they track your location from anywhere on the map. And at the same time as this, he'll do nothing but run away and hide, particularly going into like dark corners and stuff, which makes him harder and harder to close the distance and finally kill him. Lucky for us though, there's only really one of them to deal with.
There's heaven, there's hell, there's us. And then, in between it all, there's this thin bubble filled with things that hate you. The forces beyond. That's the door that Darkle is opening right now. To get back the power she's owed. We can't travel through the bubble. It'd be even more suicidal than what we're already doing. So I'm stuck with the elevator, going where the void lets me. Floor by floor. It's only going to get worse from here. So why do I feel so fucking good?
By nature, vampires are some of the most sophisticated and overpowered creatures of the undead. But one thing that people can never nail with them is the rules that they have to follow. Vampires have a giant list of rules, and most creatives usually just pick a few to talk about or to apply to their vampires in their story. I'm going to list out a few of the vampire rules. Vampires cannot touch silver. They are repulsed by the smell of garlic, and that's why you've never seen an Italian vampire. They can be warded off by pumpkins or religious iconography like rosary beads or crosses. They are sensitive to sunlight. A stake to the heart will kill them. They can't be seen in reflections. They are unable to enter buildings without being invited. And they can't cross running water. These are only like a handful of the rules that vampires have to follow, and it makes sense why people do choose to apply a few rather than all of them to vampires. Otherwise, they would literally not be able to do anything. A really good depiction of this that I saw was in the movie Sinners, where the main rule of the vampires were that they weren't able to enter the party without being invited, and it created so much tension around the movie, and it was just so cool to look at. As for Dracula, the only rule we really know is that she can't be touched by sunlight, and obviously we can make the assumption that she will be weak to stakes as we get them throughout the entire game.
I think I get it. I'm looking at the end of the world with a lightness in my chest, because I can finally know. Do you know how hard it is? Living good. Dying good is a moment. You do something, you bleed your goodness onto the universal ledger. You're a good person. You know you're a good person. Anyone can die good. I'm doing it. Living good is forever. That's how it feels. Yes to the right things, no to the wrong things. Day after day, choices reinforced bit by painstaking bit. It's like chiseling your soul into a new shape. It's fucking slow. But here we are. At a hole in the fabric of everything that is. A hole I get to close. I have to wake up tomorrow and wonder if I'm going to do the right thing again. James Savage, drug addict, gets to die good. What a mercy. There's always a chance we hit the bottom and the monster doesn't want to fight. Fuck if I know what I'll do if that happens, but the possibility is there. That's why I tell myself in the bad times. Dracula isn't unreasonable. She knows what she's doing is wrong, so that makes it better. She doesn't want to fight. She doesn't want to stop. I don't know what comes next.
Starting from chapter 10, we are introduced to a new location, the cemetery. Unlike the hotel hallways, which is by the way just a glorified version of the backrooms, the cemetery is much more open despite still being trapped into the void. Once we reach chapter 12, we are also awarded with the newest tool of destruction, the Molotov cocktail. Similar to, every other game, the Molotov is just a throwable explosive that sets a portion of the ground on fire. During my runs of El Paso elsewhere, I didn't really find too much use for them, as I was going through the game, I would usually just go into slow-mo and just literally one-shot almost every enemy in the game if you crit them. Also, if you set enemies on fire and you don't kill them, they will just run at you on fire now, which is kind of annoying. There are a few sort of niche situations where I did really like them, but you have to stick around to find out why. For now, I'm going to place these guys in C tier. Now moving further into the cemetery, we'll also discover a new enemy type.
I'm not usually taken by surprise, but I don't know what you are. My mind has a tendency to grab onto things, turn them over and over again until they make sense. Sometimes it isn't good for me. But that's old news. I think about the veil. I think about the dress. Simple, formal, torn. I think about the blood. I think about the ball of energy called from elsewhere. And how exhausted she looks after it's been fired. Before she does it again. The story starts to assemble itself in my mind. About a damned bride whose suitor drags her to hell. And she can't stop loving him anyway. Is that your story? Do I see you? Or am I just projecting a little bit?
The Damned Bride is one of our first real projectile enemies we encounter in the Void, and despite being quite low health, they're actually very annoying to deal with when you're focused on a large pack of enemies. Most of the time you want to target these guys first, otherwise you'll just get simply overrun by high damaging projectiles. And it's not common that you'll just get one shot if two hit you at the same time. Something I really enjoy about this game is James's commitment to analysing each of the enemy types. As we learned earlier, James is a researcher, and his natural reaction to dissect and understand the enemies that lurk into the void really provides some interesting context to who we are fighting, and he does this throughout the entire game.
His name was Chad Shakespeare.
He showed me his driver's license.
You asked?
He insisted, actually.
Incredible. He told you something when he sold you the jacket. What was it?
Oh, he patted the pocket. And he put something in it, and he said that I'd need it one day.
Have you checked yet?
You usually prefer for us to learn that kind of thing at the same time, so...
Give it a look. Oh.
Wow.
Why would he think you need a knife?
I don't know. It's a big-ass knife, though. I'm surprised it fits in there. Good jacket.
In the future, I don't think we should buy things from men named Chad Shakespeare.
The argument's here.
What if I was a ghoul?
And I'd still like you.
What if I was a beetle?
I'd still like you.
What if I was a vampire?
And I would still really, really, really like you.
What if I was a vampire?
Can you turn into a bat?
No. But some of my kind can.
I don't remember feeling blood last time you bit me. Or getting turned.
Well, that's not how this works.
What are you saying, Janet?
Look into my eyes, James.
She took my head into her hands and she looked into my eyes and she stared. And I remember, it was like I could see the imprint on her shoulders of the weight, the desperation, and that very moment to be believed. For me to know she was telling the truth. I held her for a half hour in this graveyard as she cried. I hadn't noticed that all of her dates had been at night, and now I'm here again. What the fuck? Darklei's ritual clearly has failsafes. An immune system, and it's recognizing me as a threat. I should be flattered. Reality is getting bent around me, flipped, distorted beyond repair, all to keep me from reaching the bottom. The void refuses to give me a straight line down. Somewhere along the way, I started bleeding. I don't know why the void hasn't killed me outright. Maybe it doesn't want to. Maybe it can't. Either way, I'm going to make that a problem.
Once we hit chapter 19, we are now introduced to our newest location, Dracula's castle. Taking on a more medieval theme, her castle walls are lined with stained glass, old bookshelves and torches. I think out of all the game's locations, this one is easily my favourite. When I think of vampires, this is exactly where I believe they would just hang out, you know? In addition to the newest setting, we also meet our newest enemy type, the Living Armor. Just as the name implies, these guys are just animated armor statues which will chase you down with an insane amount of damage if they get too close. The best way to deal with these guys right now is just with the shotgun, as for the most part it will one-shot them if you're within like the sweet spot of range. But these guys can really change up the way you play, as pretty much every enemy you've been fighting up until this point can easily be one-shot by all your weapons in slow-mo, but this guy's crit spot is more protected. They have a red weak point which is scattered throughout their armor, but you can't really hit them directly and it's not super efficient to use all your ammo for your automatic weapons. When you're dealing with a couple of these at the same time, it gets quite difficult. Now speaking of ammo efficiency, we also find another weapon in chapter 20, the Uzi. This weapon absolutely chews through ammo, and honestly, it doesn't really feel a need that the Strike Baker can't already. It's nice if you run out of ammo and you quickly need to switch to another automatic weapon, but other than that, I don't really rely on this weapon too much. I'm going to put it in B tier for now.
I know these walls. I know this light, spilling across weathered stone. I know this place, hiding from God.
And of course, this face would not be complete without a portrait of Van Helsing. I'm sure you're familiar.
Not sure he was all that he's chalked up to be.
Of course, with figures such as Van Helsing, we face this challenge of being able to determine what's real and what's not, sifting through history and lore, who they were, who they have been turned into by stories. It's an incredibly difficult undertaking.
Personally, if I want to know if a creature is real, I look at the people who are hunting it. Technique, madness, an incalculable faith that they will see their quarry again. Vampires. I haven't met a vampire hunter yet who wasn't a quack, a con man, or a romantic. No offense to Mr. Helsing here.
You aren't a believer?
Oh, I believe. I think vampires are real. They walk among us to this day. It's a story that's wrong.
This is Darklei's castle. This is where we met. Her castle. The graveyard where she told me she was a vampire. And the motel in my hometown where 2 years later, she's decided to hold the ritual that ends the world. The void is pulling these places from memories. Only question is, am I living through her hell? Or mine?
During one of these cutscenes, Dracula mentions Van Helsing. And if you don't know who Van Helsing is, he is essentially a vampire hunter that's been written into stories and lore for like 150 years now. Since the inception of Van Helsing in like the first Dracula novel ever written, he's been in movies, books, radio shows, and pretty much everything else in between. And despite his origin chopping and changing throughout the ages, one thing has always remained true with him. He likes to hunt vampires.
Now these are the chapters where things start to get a little more interesting. As we progress through chapter 21, we start to hear something. It's not until we get to the end of the level where we find its source before it just teleports us to the next stage. At this point, we find ourselves in a completely different layout to the start of the level. In addition to the new floor, the area is littered with more lore projectors, only this time Janet is talking to someone that we don't know yet.
I have no one left to walk. It serves no purpose.
Oh, fuck.
This chapter is called Burning Desire, and it's time to learn more about who Janet Jake really is. Or was.
I've made you exactly what I promised.
You have made me a creature.
You are no more a creature than the crocodile which strikes its prey beneath the water. Exercising your power is not a sin. It is nature.
I believe you have a very different definition of sin than the church.
Of course I do. I am myself a god.
Thank God. Elevator. Oh, fuck off.
Again, Jedi, you succeed. I again have someone to mourn.
I think it's safe to say who the void is pulling from for these places. These moments. This would have been her home. Thackeray mentioned a mentor once. The man who turned her. Egyptian. He was murdered in a back alley in Victorian London by one of the first gentlemen's monster hunting societies. They did a lot of damage in those days. She never told me his name. Weird to think that I'll get to know her better now than I ever did when we shared our lives together.
The Egyptian James is talking about in this cutscene is Djedefre, and I don't know if I pronounced that right, so I'm sorry if I didn't. But in real life, Djedefre was a real Egyptian king way back in whatever year this is, because I can't remember it off by heart. He essentially was involved in building some of the great pyramids, including the Pyramid of Giza. In-game, however, he takes on the form of like a reanimated armor who's being controlled by something who we don't really understand quite yet. Now, our first sighting of Djedefre starts in chapter 24, but as we continue down, we'll learn more and more about him.
The next chapter also awards us with the newest piece of our armory, the Gull Stock. The Gull Stock is a bolt-action rifle and easily one of my favourite weapons in the game. It basically acts as a better version of the shotgun, as this game doesn't actually have a scope feature, but this weapon can easily one-shot almost everything in the game, including living armor if you hit them in the weak point. So the Gull Stock easily goes on S tier for me. It's simple to use for the most part, and it's got great ammo reserves. After fighting off waves of enemies on this stage, we finally come face to face with Djedefre, and once we reach the end of the stage, we'll find the source of these voices.
Wait. I'm not in my head. What's going on?
It's just a box, James. A thin metal box with holes in it. And this is the blade.
You're a force beyond.
You know my compatriots.
I know you want us dead. You shouldn't be out yet.
I'm not out yet, but I will be. Soon. Your elevator proved a useful conduit in the meantime.
Which one are you?
Say not in thine heart who shall ascend into heaven, or who shall descend into the deep. And in the force of the go, the unsated fury to pull him down and make him the answer for what he's created.
What's next? You kill me. Stop me from interrupting the ritual.
Oh, I can't kill you. Yet, but my associate can. Fortunately for you.
Remember when I said this was a one-way trip? He likes to savor his food. I've been awake for 13 days. He doesn't let me sleep. I wrench my eyes open every time they close, afraid of what he'll do if I leave them for too long. Maybe add a projector. Maybe turn up the heat again. Far away, I wonder if I can hear laughter or if he's getting to me. The elevator shrieks through space like a great mouth. Yawning. Screaming. Let me out. Let me out. It's your stop.
Wheels within wheels. This is what James says when we encounter yet another new enemy type, the Angel. These guys are another projectile-based enemy that slowly fly around the map and don't really do much else. Similar to most enemies in the game, they can usually be one-shot with the right weaponry. I'm actually not even sure if they have a weak point, but it doesn't really matter because you can legit shoot them anywhere on their body with the bolt action sniper and they'll just fall out of the sky and fucking die. I'm also fairly certain these guys take on the form of what more people describe as biblically accurate angels, which usually are more complex and more like scary looking. I was doing some research to see if I could find any other references of biblically accurate angels in like other forms of media, and apparently the newest Pinocchio film has a depiction of these, and I watched that film, but now thinking about it, I don't really remember when it pops up, but I'll try to find an example, and if I don't find an example, you're not looking at it right now on your screen, so sucked in, I guess. Now once we reach chapter 27, we are greeted with a skeleton on its throne. Next to him lies an empty seat, alluding to Dracula's absence. In the middle of the room, there's also a red glowing plate. This is a unique mechanic for the room, and James is being tasked with saving the hostages in each of the side rooms in order to complete the stage's puzzle and hopefully find the exit. Once we finish each side, we head back to the middle where the floor starts to open up. This is where we are greeted with the newest enemy type dubbed the Burn Man. These guys are your first mini boss type enemy, but in addition to these being a unique enemy, they also can't be taken down by just bullets. Once you reach the health gate at each of their bars, you're able to stab them with a stake in order to deplete that section of their life. And if you're out of stakes, then good luck trying to kill them.
Now, although we've had stakes since literally stage 1, I haven't really spoken about them. Stakes are like your consumable melee weapons that you can find pretty much scattered everywhere around the void, and they are very useful. They can pretty much one-shot every form of enemy as long as you can get into melee range, and they are obviously needed to deal with bosses. Now, because they're so useful in every situation, stakes easily go in S tier.
Now once you defeat the Burn Man, we are surprised by yet Degenerate again. And now there's really only one thing to do, run. Well, that would have been great if my game didn't bug here and the doors would have opened, and I ended up being stuck in this room for like 10 minutes. I think it's because I left an enemy alive in the main area, which I could hear like stomping around, but eventually I was able to go through by just going straight into slow-mo and running for my life. Once you reach the elevator, we're met with a few more cutscenes.
You really don't want me poking around in here. No. You need to stay present. I want you to feel everything. Birth year 1991. Blood type O negative. Your father's last words. I'm done. When did you know that you loved each and trick? Ferris wheel. Why are you here? Ferris wheel. We were on a Ferris wheel. It had been a really good day. And as we rose to the top, she put her head on my shoulder and closed her eyes and whispered to herself, I forgot living could be a good thing. And that was it. This one good day burned into my head, and I gave her my soul. And I remembered it. I remembered it when she started lying to me and controlling me. I didn't have any money when we traveled. Everything was hers. I existed by her graces. And that was good because she loved me. And I was special and I remembered. My good day. I remembered when she started reveling in me being a little bit afraid of her. All of the time. I remembered when she put me on that fucking couch and told me to stay, and I did. I pissed myself, and I waited for 4 days, scared of what would happen if I got up and she found out. Proud of myself for showing that I could stay. 4 days of waiting and blinking and feeling the inside of my mouth dry and crack like poured cement. Until she came back, covered in blood. I didn't believe her when she told me she'd stopped feeding. I'd seen bloodstains washing clothes. But there she was, standing in the doorway, finally telling me the truth about what she wanted to be. Her first words to me and the last words I've heard her say for 2 years were, "Good boy." And the same sick part of me that felt like it was tearing in half when I left her was glad. Glad I stayed. Like the good boy I am. And that she saw me. I drove away as fast as I could, weeping in a car that didn't belong to me. Still remembering that one good fucking day. As much as I want to hate her for what she did to me, without laying a finger on me, and what I did to myself, I can't. Because it was a really good fucking day. And her words were warm and her head was cold, and I don't know if I'm ever going to make someone feel like they are good. Like that. Ever again. Good. You're ready to die. It's been nice knowing you, Savage. I can't say I share your opinion.
Not yet. Let's take him on another ride.
No, I can't do this again, no. Stop. No. No! Jede! Jede Frey. The son of Khufu, the great builder. Right? I put the pieces together. Zimforth wanted out early and he needed meat. Meat with a connection to Dakale. A tether. What stronger tether than the man who made her who she is? Zimforth felt you in the ether, hitched a ride when you came back, poured you into a suit. That's why I haven't been able to hurt you. Because you've got a patron. She never said your name. We spent every moment together for 3 years. She told me everything, but the one thing that Janet didn't say is your name. Didn't breathe it. So you managed to complete a pyramid in your own lifetime. Conquered mortality, faked your own death to reign over the underworld, birthed the Lord of the Vampires, and it's all gone. Forgotten. The only reason I know who you are is because I was looking into the pharaohs of Egypt once, researching mummies, vampires, where that all started. And there was a big gap where your name is. Because of all the mysteries of Egypt, you were the one that no one has cared to solve. Even to the person who loved you most, you're dead. Does that hurt? less of a puppet. What is a king who reigns over nothing? It's the end of the world, man. You don't have a name, you don't have authority. You don't have her. The one thing you can get right now, after a very, very long time, is a fight that matters. Now that makes things interesting.
Now it's time for the first real boss fight in this game. Jujutsu for the most part has two different moves. He can charge at you and swipe his curved blade thing, or he can just straight up dash at you, which although is obviously telegraphed, is actually so fucking hard to dodge. Like, look at this shit. I wouldn't like overall describe this boss as hard, but as I was scrolling the Steam community page, I came across this fucking hilarious post that I had to share. What the hell? I am so unbelievably frustrated. Am I not getting something? Is my game buggy? After playing this game for several hours unintended and finding it mostly to be too easy yet extremely enjoyable, now I hit a brick wall with the Egyptian boss. I am already fighting him for an hour now, which should be about 50 tries so far, hearing over and over that I should treat him like the Burning Man, and not once have I managed to even take half of his life. Is this some sick joke of the developers? Is the rest of the game unfinished and they are trying to fend off players? So they may not notice? What is this? The most viable way so far has been to cheese him, just by standing next to him and circling him, abusing his wonky movement AI. Is this intended? Every other movement seems undoable and ends in a 1 to 3 hit kill. Just to make it clear, I loved this game so far. It was really great. I just can't understand the decisions that must have went into this boss design, nor the lack of discussion about it in the forums. We're in the Steam community forums, by the way. Someone also commented underneath it saying, gamers that get stuck on a mission / interaction with a video game have a few options on how to react. Firstly is ranting. Second is asking for help. Third is blaming the world for ruining their life and all future enjoyment is drained because of the same. Fourth is attacking the devs themselves as evil, incompetent, sadistic programmers with clown shoes for gloves and have accidentally coded a monstrosity that surely nobody has wanted. Congratulations, you have successfully made it to number 4. I was actually fucking crying when I read these comments. This game has like 10,000 settings to adjust the difficulty to your liking, and I seriously cannot imagine writing such a crazy discussion post on the Steam community after being stuck on a boss for less than an hour. Now Emily_008, if you're reading this, I hope you found the light at the end of your tunnel, and good luck with your future gaming. Amen. Now anyway, back to the boss fight. Once you get him down to 50% health, you enter phase 2 with him, which is essentially the exact same as phase 1, only now you're in a smaller arena. Eventually, you whittle down his health bar and you are greeted with another cutscene.
My God. James?
Hey,
What is this?
this is Jedi Fry. The Force Beyond brought him back, poured him into a suit.
I didn't think the door had opened yet.
I don't think it has. But, you know, these ancient forces of hatred and destruction. Always getting antsy.
I have to go back. I felt a ripple, so...
Oh yeah, no, don't worry about it. I'll be here. Fuck.
Now this is the first time we actually meet Dracula, and for the most part this interaction is quite normal. From now on, we're going to be diving much deeper into the story of Dracula and really what a relationship was truly like with James. So what better way to do that than starting from scratch?
In chapter 31, we lose all our weapons, and it's our goal to recover them. The Void has scattered our shit throughout the floor, which is now just a giant combination of all the locations we've visited so far. And eventually, we find all our old gear and we are rewarded with the newest tool of destruction, the launcher.
This is special. And definitely not street legal.
The launcher is a handheld explosive projectile weapon that needs to reload after every shot. Ammo is extremely limited, so we really only need to pull out this bad boy when we're in dire straits. For the most part, the launcher is a good but very niche weapon. It's really good against boss enemies like the Burn Man, but other than that, I'm not really pulling this thing out too often, so I'm just going to put it in B tier for now, as it's kind of too niche for my liking. I also find it kind of strange that we had all our weapons stripped away, legit only to find them all on the same level. I think it would have made more sense if we just gathered them over the floors as we progress deeper into the Void, but I don't know.
James. You look pretty good.
No, I really don't.
Yeah, I suppose I shouldn't lie.
It's this obvious it doesn't particularly help, no.
How did you get down here?
I think I slipped in at the last minute. Took the elevator. Been here ever since.
You could tell from the outside.
Not really. Not unless you knew what to look for.
So there's no one else.
Probably not.
Okay, I shouldn't leave it for too long.
Hey, I get it. You're finally doing the big thing, right?
Yes. Yes. It's very delicate and you are why I felt the ripple, aren't you?
Probably.
Meat Room is where the Void starts to look a little more grotesque. Fleshy growth now starts to cover the walls in each floor, creating tunnels between the rooms, and it's not until you reach literally outer space where you can find the source of its growth. Chapter 28, dubbed Rocket Science, introduces us to the most beautiful location in the game: space. I really just enjoyed the overall aesthetic of this level, and the soundtrack just fully backs it up. As for the playthrough, the area again is pretty unique to itself, but other than that, nothing is too difficult, as this is obviously just a common theme throughout the game. Now back to meat riding. The fleshy growth we see throughout the levels is most likely just a symbol that we're just getting deeper into like the heart of the Void, and its true nature is starting to be revealed on a greater scale. And James, for the most part, is grossed out by his surroundings, but we don't really learn more about its source. Other than that, these levels are pretty simple as we just keep going deeper and deeper into the Void.
You're going to tell me why you're here.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. You need to apologize to me.
I followed him. It's my fault. I didn't think I was that person anymore. But he was drunk and he practically fell into my arms and I was so hungry.
What do you need from me right now?
Am I a monster?
No.
Do you see me as a monster?
No. You made a mistake.
I did it on purpose. I did all the steps.
Mistakes can be on purpose. You're human. Supernatural or not, you are human. And I am here for you. We should probably get out of town, but you aren't a monster. And this won't happen again. We'll make sure of it. Together.
Look,
You cried less the second time. Third time, you mentioned how upset you were with yourself, and I don't think you brought it up any times after that. We just both knew.
how did this machine hear us?
While you've been pulling on the Void's been pulling back, creating artifacts in places from your memories, distorting them. I've learned a lot about you down here.
Anything you wish you knew before?
I've always wanted to know more about you, Janet.
We'll discuss this further. Later.
I'm counting on it. Love you too. We're really gonna kill each other, aren't we?
James's relationship with Dracula is quite a common one. Dracula is an emotional abuser, and it's pretty obvious. She's manipulative. I was honestly so surprised on how well done these cutscenes were in the game, and I was just like, I was actually just blown away. Like, I was so immersed in these cutscenes, which is pretty crazy given that James's head is like one whole pixel.
Now, moving much deeper into the void, we eventually make it to chapter 46, where we are greeted by something a little different. Despite taking on the form of a bride, this entity glows blue.
Why are you blue?
As we progress further into the stage, it's almost as if it's luring us into something. Once we finally catch up to her, it looks as if she's performing a ritual on a hostage. And eventually it'll lead us into a mini boss fight. The blue bride will continue to fire balls of energy at us until we finish off the burn man, and once we finish the encounter, she just disappears. Moving into the next chapter, we face off with yet another mysterious entity, this one being the radio. Now, throughout the game so far, the radio has been used as a way to learn more about James through the perspective of like the Pillcop story, and the fact that we're now fighting the radio gives me the interpretation that James is facing his past memories more literally. We've just learned everything we really need to know about him, so the last thing for him to do is really just face his past. The final room here has us fighting waves of enemies. It's evident that we are getting towards the bottom of the void here, and it's really only a matter of time until we face the music.
So he cut the wire?
You cut the wire.
And now it's working again.
I do not try to make sense of it.
You still haven't tried to kill me.
I didn't want to be rude.
I thought you hated me.
Why?
For what you feel I did to you.
Huh. The couch?
The couch incident was an outlier. It isn't fair to judge me from that.
Your last words to me were, good boy, Dakale.
Were you not?
What I was going to say is that the couch was just one in a long line of things. You never touched me, but you constantly reminded me of your capacity for violence. Do you know what that does to a person? At one point, you put your arm out to stop me in the hallway, and you kept pushing your open palm into the wall. I saw it go through the drywall and the wood, and then the brick slowly, relentlessly, until there was a fist-sized hole. And you just wiped your hand off and grinned at me like we had shared a secret. You would scream at me for slight mistakes and misunderstandings, and even just a lack of deference. These sharp, intense fires that would leave you cold for days afterwards. I'd flinch when you call my name sometimes. And you'd have me do these arbitrary, demeaning things to prove my love to you. That I knew my place. One day, wash the dishes, wash them again 3 times, 4 times, until my hands were stinging and red. So at the end of it, you could wrap your arms around me and thank me for loving you and taking care of you. Reminding you that living could be a good thing, because I told you about the one good day that justified all the bad ones. I don't know if what you did was wrong, but I know it wasn't right.
You said once I wasn't a monster. Do you still believe that's true?
I don't feel bad when I kill monsters. Killing you would feel different. I keep expecting her to come back and say one more thing. She was wearing a suit. It was a suit I'd seen before, a classic suit. Her hair was different, long fingers. She always looked good in a suit. You look at a piece of fabric sometimes and know exactly what it feels like between your finger and your thumb. Now she's cold when you're standing next to her if you're close enough, even through the clothes, and fuck me. I miss her. I miss my monster. Is this the part where you stop me?
No. I'm seeing you off. You are almost at the bottom. If you live long enough, we will see each other then. Confront each other then.
What is this, Dracula?
A goodbye.
Chapter 49 is beautiful. There's honestly not much else to say. Everything we have done so far has led us to this moment, and this chapter offers us a small slice of peace before our final boss. Despite this stage still having enemies, it's mostly tame. I honestly would have preferred if there were just no enemies at this stage, and we could just explore it quietly as we get ready for our final boss fight. But anyway, eventually we make it to the final projector.
Do you know that Transylvania had a baseball team? Janet?
Can you say my name?
Janet.
No, my other name. Dracula.
Dracula.
In a sentence. Please.
Hey, Dracula, can you please pass me a butter? How was that?
It was good.
Do you want me to keep using it?
I think I would.
I think it's clear to say that Janet Drake is dead, and only Dracula remains, and I think James knows this, and it's time to climb the final tower and put an end to the ritual.
I had another good day, you know? When I got my 3-month chip, my sponsor, Pearl, took me out for ice cream. Like I was a kid. When we were in line, after ordering some frankly ill-advised flavor combinations, she held it out to me and she said, "Hey, if you lose this, we always have more." Then she let go and informed me that I'd be paying for the ice cream. That day meant everything. I don't know if you've ever been on a wagon, but falling off, it feels like tumbling down a well. There's just water and walls, worn completely smooth. It feels like you've lost the ability to be a different person again. So you go from 3 months between relapses to 2 days, 1 day. And Pearl said that was okay. As long as I kept coming back for that chip again. Because they always had more. I remember the old heads who showed me how to handle a gun at a range I shouldn't have been at, telling me about werewolves in Vietnam, lighting a fire in me to search for the unbelievable. I'm thinking I had a lot of good days. For as long as I have left, I'm glad I can see them. Are you still doing this?
I get one chance to be myself again. And there is a price opening the door to things that should stay in the dark. I don't get to pay it a second time.
I know. I know what it's like to want to go back to a different version of yourself. To idealize this point before when you were innocent. That person and that time and that place are gone, Dracula. You're still here. You get to choose.
I do, James.
Please don't make me blow your head off.
I'm not the devil. I'm just taking back what's mine. Wouldn't you?
Alright then.
We find Janet waiting for us in the middle of the ritual room, and there's really only one thing that has to happen now. As for the boss fight, it's almost identical to the fight with Jedifrey, which is honestly just a little bit disappointing. The only real difference is that Dracula will sometimes jump onto like a perch or a rock in the distance and shoot a ball of energy at us before dashing back and taking a swing. Emily_008, if you are out there, I really hope you made it to the end of this game and that it wasn't just a sick joke from the developers.
That's it.
I would have been good at it, you bastard.
I know. Royalty suits you.
I really didn't think you'd save so many of them.
I just tried. It's nice to have it work for once. What is this?
It's my soul's blood. It's how you turn someone. It's how I win.
I don't want this.
But you will want it. Because you don't want to die. And you still want to be special. You'll have enough time to turn cruel and lonely. You fucking poor excuse for sake. I win. I'll see you in hell. When your own sins catch up with you.
And that's how she dies. Resenting a lack of body count. I want to throw it into the wall. I want to smash it into the floor and have my last sensation be the wet scratch of glass against flesh as I crush it into the ground. I want my vision to fade away as I reject her and everything she did to me. My lovely, tragic death. But she isn't a god. She was just a hurt person who did fucked up things. Until it became easier to define herself by the people she damaged than to change. She measured her impact in scars. It is terrifying to think of dying with all of these scars. Let alone living with them, trying with them, trying to be good. But I can. And I did. And I do. The sun's rising outside. Somewhere inside me, something responds to the approaching light. I'm 10 minutes sober. And scars fade. Fuck it.
And that's that. James takes the soul blood and presumably turns himself into a vampire. Now, I don't really know if this was the ending you were expecting or if it was really the ending I was expecting, but this is just what happens. After going through 50 levels, killing thousands of monsters and saving a bunch of hostages, I didn't actually expect James to continue to live, or well, presumably continue to live. Now, if you look at the length of this video, there's actually just a little bit more left. And that's because this game actually does have a secret ending. Now, throughout the story, you actually have a choice on whether you do want to save the hostages or not. And if you choose a more darker path where you do decide to kill all the hostages in the void, then you do actually get a completely different ending at the end of the game. So let's rewind just a little bit.
I would have been good at it.
No. Royalty suits you.
A lot of my sacrifices died, James. You don't think you'll face judgment for that?
Not as long as you don't get them. What was that? What did he do?
My soul's blood. I didn't want you to get any nasty ideas at the last minute.
Soul's blood?
It's how you turn someone. There would be victory in giving it to you. Giving you time to turn cruel and strange and lonely. Because deep down, like everyone else, you want to be special. But you don't get to be like me. You are going to die next to the person who hurt you. Even though you won.
But Akale, you aren't the god. You aren't even a monster. You're a hurting person who did a lot of fucked up shit. Dying in a 2-star motel next to your ex. It would be funny if it wasn't so human.
You are a fucking poor excuse for a saint, James Savage.
I think I'm done too. I don't think there's anything big I have to say or that I have the right to say, really. I'm 10 minutes sober. Thanks for believing.
And so, yeah, to me, I feel like this ending is more of the true ending, in my opinion. Both Janet and James telling each other how they really feel, getting it off their chest as they both bleed to death in the void. In this ending, Janet recognizes that James has lost his humanity to the void and that he actually deserves to die. I'm actually a massive sucker for stories that have one of those more sad and blunt endings, and this one is perfect. I also like the difference between the credits. The ending where James takes the soul blood, the credits actually say James will return, but in this one, it doesn't mention anything. It's also worth noting that only 1.8% of people have actually got this ending on Steam before, so it's crazy to think about how many people would have just put the game down, never knowing what could have happened if James took a different path.
So yeah, that's our Paso Elsewhere. A game that on the surface does look sort of boring, and the gameplay is repetitive, I'm not going to lie about that, but its story is really what carries it, and is really what got me hooked. If you have played this game before, please let me know what you think. And if you haven't, I'll leave a link to it in the description of this video because I highly recommend it. And it's only like 15, 20 bucks or something. Thank you so much for sticking around to the end of this video. And if you enjoyed, please subscribe, let me know. I'm going to try to start working on these more long form pieces and with more, high production value. So if you did enjoy them, please let me know. And I'll see you in the next one. Peace.